Guys, hope you're good. Welcome back to the channel. It's me, Chris Bradley, owner of the MRR agency and fitnessads.ai. And this YouTube channel helps coaches go from 10K to 20K per month and beyond and help them build a lifestyle empire. So today's video is a little bit about coaches before that. So you've probably seen from the title why 80% of coaches never go past 50K per year. Now, look, if you're happy with 50K per year and you're good with that, happy days. But I want to address it, and inside our agency and stuff, we talk about it as like in a joking kind of way. It's like you have a season ticket there. When you're at 50K a year, you're probably very grateful that you're not in your previous job. You love it. It's great. But when you are a business owner and you're self-employed and you're doing it yourself and you kind of balance everything, it can get very, very stressful at 50K per year because one, if you've been there a long time, things are getting more and more expensive, things don't get cheaper, and you can get kind of burnt out from it. And the funny thing is, everything that got you to 50K per year won't get you to the next stage. So if you're hungry and you're ambitious for growth, then there's a lot of stuff you've got to let go of, and there's a lot of stuff you have to add in. And in today's video, I want to address that. So by the end of this video, you'll have an idea of where you're probably stuck. I'm going to make it clearer for you. And then we're going to look at some solutions to get you past that 50K per year so that you can continue to grow and continue to build your lifestyle empire, whatever that looks like. So I'm going to pull from the 500,000 scaling roadmap. Now, this is the scaling roadmap that we use with our clients to obviously go to 500,000. Now, not everyone wants to get to that stage, but the big idea is I've looked at everything that I've done in the past from growing my online coaching business, personal training business, and the agency. And I've looked at all the constraints and all the struggles that I've faced along the way. And I've laid it all out just so that as and when my clients come into these inevitable challenges, they're able to foresee them, plan ahead for them, and obviously when they get there, they can break through them. So this is a 500,000 scaling roadmap. We're obviously going to look at the section around breaking past 50K per year. Now, this is the first part of it, 0 to 50K per year. When you hit stage one of this roadmap, which is the 0 to 50K per year mark, this is the grind stage, right? This is when you're making your first sales, you're trying to prove your concept, and you're testing everything as you go. It's pretty messy, but it's momentum. You're quite happy. You're figuring out who you help, what they actually want, and how to sell without burning out. So that's when you hit that. The big challenge here, summarised in a small sentence, is you're trying to do everything: marketing, sales, fulfillment, and it's all duct taped together. You're not sure what works yet, and you're second guessing everything. Sound familiar? And then stage one, data reminder. Always have this at the start of each stage. You have to track sales calls, your closes, and your weekly output as the business owner. Data here proves your offer works. Okay, so moving on to the next part. In any business, you're met with what is called constraints. Now, a lot of people just call them struggles, what they face, and things like that. I'm going to put this over here, and I'm going to quickly draw this out, just to kind of signify it in terms of like the iceberg part of it, right? So, we break it into sections. So we break it into five parts. We have market clarity, we have lead generation, we have brand authority, we have operations and systems, and we have leadership and team. So if this right here, I'll get the blue pen, represents, a big ass iceberg, right? And at the top of this iceberg is, of course, your business challenges. So this obviously applies, anywhere in the region from 0 to 50K per year. So this is the business challenges. And what I want to do on this quick bit here is just look at from the 5 categories. For me, generally speaking, the biggest challenges you'll face that will have the biggest impact. So underneath here, we obviously have the rest of the iceberg. And we're just going to break this into some categories here, like so. One more. So first things first, what happens with market clarity? Well, market clarity is when you either have clarity on who you're helping or you don't. Now, oftentimes on the lead up to get to sort of 50K per year, you probably just helped everyone and anyone. You've just put your offer out there, people have raised their hand, and you've just went in there to see who you can and can't help. Now, that can't go on forever, because as you build to a business beyond 50K per year, you have to start to put together your processes that are tailored to certain demographics of people. So, for example, let's say you're a coach and you have people over the age of 40, females who are perimenopausal or whatever. And then you have males who are looking to build muscle who are 21. Now, these are extreme examples, but if you have them and then everyone in between, it's going to put a lot of strain on your operations and how you run things. You won't know, what to deliver internally for clients. And then when you go to speak on social media or write copy for emails and things, it'll be blurred because you don't have the ideal avatar in your mind. So the first things first, let me write this in a bigger pen for you. The first things first is that you are unclear. And I'll just draw a wee person here. You're unclear on who you help and how to help them. You've probably got some results already, which is great. But as times progress, there's so many different people in front of you that you're unclear just how to help them all win. And this is why you end up firefighting. This is why you can't take time off. This is why you're a little bit stressed. And then that coupled with going into creating content to try and drive more people into your business, there's no market clarity. And then what that then breeds into is you have a bit of a confusing offer. So because all these different people are coming in and inquiring with you and you're trying to have sales conversations, you can't really get a really tight sales process in place because the person hearing your offer and listening to it and speaking to you through the sales process is all different. You can't build up a consistency. You can't create a proper way to handle objections because the market that you're speaking to is unclear. Inside your service, you've got a whole bunch of different types of people. So you can get clear on your deliverables and it just creates this noise. And this is where this part here is represented. This gets represented internally and externally as well. So that's the first part is you're unclear, you've got a confusing offer. Next up, so let me just put this in here so you remember market clarity. Next, we're going to talk about lead gen. So how this relates to lead gen is you've kind of hustled your way there. You've got some referrals, word of mouth and things like that, and you've signed some people up. And you probably might, in some cases, not had to do an awful lot of lead gen. You just, put your offer out there. People said hi. Friends and friends referred each other, and then you did a good job. You got some good results, and then now people are like, "Yeah, that's what you should go with. This is a good offer." But now you want to grow, and you can't rely on word of mouth alone. Word of mouth's a decent tactic, but listen, as you get older and stuff, your clients have only got so many friends. We've only got so many friends, and once they run out of friends to tell, it's not a reliable strategy. So when it comes down to lead gen, you've probably got very inconsistent content. Let me just find this right part here. Inconsistent content, and there's no rhythm to your lead gen. So, you're quite reactive with your lead gen because this stuff here, you'll notice this is all related, by the way, because you're busy firefighting with your clients. And then when you finally make time for marketing, it's unclear who you're speaking to. So you rush it and you get frantic, you get frustrated. And then so you're never consistent with your content. It's inconsistent and there's no real rhythm with it. And because the outputs of your content aren't great and they're unclear, the lead gen becomes unclear and unpredictable. And you see this a lot with business owners when they go out and market stuff. They market from a place of scarcity and being frantic. They put up, I'm looking for these clients and they get rushed and stuff like that. And that's when they hype and jump onto the latest trends in terms of selling and stuff. So hopefully this is starting to really click for you. Again, listen, I sympathise with you because you can't do it all, especially 0 to 50K. That's when you're really, really working yourself and doing it all yourself. So lead generation, inconsistent content, or outreach / lead gen rhythm. And then we move on to brand authority. So brand authority. So this is where it directly affects your messaging clarity on who you help and who you can't help. So because you've probably used a lot of your social proof and results that you've got with your clients that have been there for a while during the 0 to 50K stage, but you've not got any more social proof. So the social proof is drying up and you've got a couple of superstar clients, but you've already shown them off. And see, because you don't know who you're delivering to and your lead gen is inconsistent, you're not getting enough people through the door. So then you're not getting fresh faces in to then have a bigger impact and continuously push social proof. And because of that, your brand's not picking up. People aren't associating you with the go-to person in your niche. So there's no real proof or message clarity that you're the go-to person in your niche. And then your socials, because the inconsistency and stuff, and this is huge, especially in the fitness industry, is like your socials look like a hobby. Let's just call it a hobby business. Because it's like it's reactive, it's a lot about you, not your personal brand. It's just very reactive and it's there isn't a rhythm to it whereby a very clear avatar knows that when they land on your page, what's going to happen, like how they're going to get in touch with you, who you help, what your beliefs are, what you like, who it's for and who it's not for. More importantly, uh, and so that's the brand authority piece that I always want to include because I do feel that if you look at each of these sections, if you get really good at building a brand authority, you can have little things that inconsistently gen. To get to 100K a year, to 200K a year, you need it all to be firing to some degree. Okay. So social proof is lacking and people aren't positioning you as the go-to in that niche. And then your socials and stuff just looks like a hobby business as opposed to a proper business. And then we move on here to operations and sales. So ops and sales. And a big part of this is like because you're doing a lot of firefighting and you've not really had time to sit down and build systems. Let's face it, you probably hate systems. But because when you started a business, you just wanted to help people and do the things that comes natural to you and get good at that. And that's probably speaking to another human being and delivering a great service to them. So because you've been hustling your way to 50K a year, you've never really made time for the operational side of things and the system sides of things. And so what happens then is that there's a lot of manual work. It's very, very manual. Um, and there's probably no real structure. So as it simply sounds, as soon as you get a bit of an extra hour in the day between clients, between all the other stuff in life that you have to deal with, you then try and mess about with systems and tech and these types of things to save yourself time. But you actually just feel like it's costing you time. And sometimes what you do in the 0 to 50K a year stage is you just try and frantically pass this off and pay someone to do it. Therefore, you don't learn, and then your expenses start to get high, and you're in this kind of really, really confusing bubble in order to grow. So manual onboarding, manual check-ins, everything's very, very reliant on you being there. And you'll know this is a very, very prominent part in your business. If you take time off on a holiday and you're stressed and you come back even more stressed, it's because you're doing everything manual and there's no real structure for delivery of your service. Next, we have leadership and team. So you might not have a team. It's literally all you. It's you yourself, and Irene. And there's no other support. And listen, honestly, if you're at 0 to 50K, I would expect it to be you, but this is it's that like double edged sword thing where when you're at 0 to 50K a year and you're unclear on your market, you're unclear on your offer, you're training a bunch of all different types of people and coaching them. Your offer's pretty confusing because you've not had time to continuously work on that. You don't want to take the risk of just repelling other people. Your content's inconsistent because you're too busy. Social proof is few and far between because you're too busy in doing the firefighting and doing the work and never been able to sit back and look at your processes. Next part. And then it's all you. But the double-edged sword is that if you brought someone in, you feel that you don't have enough finances and income to do that. But that's what would start to free up to allow you to do this. So it's like that's where the whole risk comes in for people when it comes to business. But that's it. Really, this is the kind of 0 to 50K a year problems. And if we start to look at like what the solutions are, so that's the constraints by department, and then we look at constraints solutions. So let me just read out these constraint solutions. So market clarity. This is where you want to use early adopter experiences to pick one clear avatar with a painful problem. So let's say you've coached and worked with 30 different people, right? I want you to sit down and look at all those 30 people and just look at the ones that light you up. Look at the ones that you know you can get a result for, the ones that you know can pay you money, a decent amount of money for the value that you provide, and the ones that you genuinely like can help. I've seen this in the past where people have helped people that they just can't help. And they've kind of masked it by, oh, but they're inquiring. It's like, yeah, but can you help them like to your best of your ability? Because we can't help everyone, right? So, and then we want to define the before and after of your coaching. Like, what is the before state of your coaching, of your business when your ideal avatar comes in? And what is the after state? Because that's when you know that very, very clearly, you build the bridge, aka your service. And then you want to create a one-liner who says who you help, with what, and why it matters. And if you're struggling with that, then you have to go back and do the previous two. Then we think about lead generation. This is where you want to post 5 times a week with call to actions to create conversations, and you want to track this. So you have to look at the call to actions that work. You have to test them all out. And then we move on to building a base. This is where you build something we call the follower to client funnel. And this is where you want to make your main profile of the whatever you use to get clients. You want to turn that into a follower to client funnel where every stage of it is mapped out and tailored towards this ideal market, right? Some people try and build a follower to client funnel and fix their Instagram and stuff like that, but they need to go back and actually fix the top part of the market clarity. And then we have brand authority. So you want to collect and post 3 social proof wins per week. You have to manufacture this. You have to set up a system to capture it. You want to clean up your bio and all your highlights if you're using sort of social media platforms. You want to pin 3 really, really solid story-based, proof-based at the top of your grid to obviously enhance the follower to client funnel. Then we move on to operations and systems. Revamp your onboarding process. Make it really, really simple. Think about speed to value. Think about how your client can get a win as soon as possible. And then we look at building a weekly check-in and success system process. So don't just rely on one method for, delivering your service and hoping that they get success from it. Think about all the different ways that your clients can intake information. Some people are visual learners. Some people prefer to read things. Some people prefer just to talk to you. That's your success system. Install a call booking appointment engine. And then this is where you start to build the first version of what we call the 10 pillars of MRR. It doesn't need to be perfect, just needs to be real. And then lastly, leadership and team. This is where you need to schedule CEO thinking time, at least 2 hours a week, non-negotiable, where you sit down and you're not a coach anymore. You're the CEO of your company, where you sit with a pen and notepad and you write down everything that's broken and you go ahead and start to fix it, right? Put your check-ins and put your delivery stuff to the side for a minute. And then we look at setting non-negotiable daily lead gen and working on the business time blocks. Now, why this is in the leadership part is because you need to lead it. You need to lead this part of the service because you're the only person there. And then using a simple habit tracker to self-manage and audit your outputs. This is where you need to, if you imagine someone's going to chat your door tomorrow who's way ahead of you in business and say, show me your time audit, show me what you do every single week as an output to get an input. Because I guarantee you, looking at it, it will be 80% delivery and 20% business growth if you're lucky. And that's why you're stuck at 50K per year. So, and this is where we look at success. So just to finish, what does success look like at stage 1? Well, the offer solves a clear, painful problem, not a nice to have problem. You know who your best fit client is. You've made 30 sales to perfect fit clients. Weekly content and sales rhythm are in motion. Onboarding and check-in is repeatable. You're making money doing real coaching, real service delivery, and you can prove that you get results. The bottom line, stage 1 is all about going from chaos to control. You're not here to be fancy. You're here to get proof that your offer works and people will pay you and you can deliver a result. Don't overcomplicate this phase, right? Get paid, get progress, get structure. Once you do that, you can scale it from there. Cool. And then we move on to the 50K to 100K milestone, which we'll talk about in another video. Anyway, hopefully that opens your eyes up, looking at this iceberg and the problems that you're struggling with. I've seen the insides of enough businesses to know that this is probably where you're struggling. So I want you to look at this and I want you to look at the area that, score them out of 10. Which area for you is the worst? Over the years, as social media content has gotten more popular, people have actually got consistent content, but they don't know what to do with the clients when they come in. Their offer isn't great. And they certainly don't get as many results because people are coming in off the back of popularity, for example. But you put your unique situation to the test. And of course, any questions on this, pop it in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next video. In fact, the next video is right here.